the greatest thing about it was I had a bit of a tan, actually. By the time I did actually go home, I'd been in pre-para quite a little bit of time, and we'd been to Malta. We'd only in Malta for a couple of months, and then we came back. And I had a bit of a tan. We're getting changed and just saying to one of the lads, how much leave have we got? He said, we got 10 days. Because we're going to Kuwait. I believe we're going to Kuwait. So we're going on standby for Kuwait. It's trouble in Kuwait. Iraq was trying to invade Kuwait. And, or it was threatening to, and 2 para were already out there. And we were relieving them because they'd been out in Bahrain and all around that area. They'd been out there for 2 years, so we were going to relieve them. So he said, we got 10 days leave. I went home. What a feeling of, I won't say one-upmanship, but what a feeling of making people realise of all that had happened to me.
Sense of self-worth.
Yeah, and now I remember coming down. And for the first time, you know, in my life, I had a bed in that house. I had a bed. It was actually a bed that I was sleeping on. I thought I wasn't going to sleep on the floor anyway.
I was going to say you wouldn't have put up with anything
I wasn't going to sleep on the floor anyway. But I was told there was a bed on the second floor for me to bed, so I went up there and there was a bed. Got my head down. Got up the next morning, about 9 o'clock. I went downstairs to get a shave. I used to go to shave in the bathroom, but there was someone in there, so I just got my own towel, kind of the uniform, my trousers and vest on and that. And I went downstairs. And there was a couple of brothers sat in the front room. My mum was standing there, and I just walked straight over to the sink. And I just, as I walked in, I just said, morning. Walked over to the sink, put my towel over my shoulder, started putting the hot water in the basin, started getting a shave. And I was looking in the mirror, and the brothers looking at me, staring at me. And one of them said, oh, look, ma'am, there's a soldier. And I knew he was taking the mickey. I didn't say anything. I just carried on shaking his head. And a big lad now, eh? Soldier. And I just turned round and I said, do you know what? I said, there's a big garden out there. I said, and if anybody fancies the chances, they're quite welcome to walk outside, or you can run outside, whatever, your choice, and we'll get it sorted once and for all. Because I did say when I left that no one was ever going to lay a hand on me again. And I had my towel over my shoulder when I was having a shave, and I had hold of the towel with one hand. And the reason I did that was I was flexing my muscles. I know it sounds childish, but I was going to let them see exactly what I turned into. So I just had hold of my towel and I said, so if you want to get outside, I said, Mum was shouting, I can't do that, I can't come back here talking like that. I said, no, because nobody's used to it, are they? Because Brian's not a little boy anymore. And I turned back round to the mirror and I just looked. I was having a shave. And I was looking at them through the mirror, and I was smiling. I couldn't help myself. Next thing, one of the brothers got up. I thought he was going outside, but then I heard him running up the stairs. And I looked across at the other one, and he got up and walked out. And it always reminded me of the dog in Shane, when the fella's coming in for a gunfight, and they're standing there ready to draw guns, and the dog just looks up and slunk out the door. And I couldn't stop laughing. And that was really the last time I went home. But I'd gone home, and I'd proved without lifting a finger, because I never lifted a finger to anybody in that family. That's the strange thing about it. After all what I took, I never ever lifted my hand to anybody. I let it be known that I was quite capable of doing it. And I let it be known to one or two people who said something to me. As I came home on leave now and then, people would say things and I'd just say, who do you think you're talking to? And just the way I used to say it, it used to frighten them a bit because I always did it very quietly. Because I was taught when I was in Fleetwood that if you want to really make people back off, you don't shout or bawl like I did on the tank tracks with the log race. You say things quietly and determinedly. So when somebody starts pushing and shoving or saying things, you just turn around and say, "Excuse me, I'm packing it in. You know, I'm not here for this. If you don't pack it in, you're going to get hurt." And always quietly. And I found it worked wonders. It just worked wonders. And that was the start of, I would say, a good life in the Paris, but a hard one because I used to speak quietly to some of the Paris who were from different battalions, and they knew what I was up to, and like everybody else did. So the Paris used to shout at each other.
Whispering at each other.
But it used to have some great laughs. I was up to Kuwait, and that was the first. We landed at Cyprus, going to Bahrain, and it was an amazing feeling. I'd already been to Malta, seeing what it was like first time I'd ever been abroad, but this was more exciting. I'd listened to the telly, they had the news. Iraq was wanted to try and take over Kuwait. Kuwait was sort of protected by the British, and the troop were on the border, waiting to go in if the Iraqis came any further towards Kuwait. Because obviously that's where all the oil was coming from. Kuwait was only a small place, but there was a lot of oil. And
very familiar story, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was when we got to Cyprus and the heat hit you. Wow, it was hot. And everything seemed like a different planet because everything seemed to be brown. Everything seemed to be, there's no greenery, it was all just brown. I mean, going back many years now, and it was a British colony, Cyprus.
What year was this?
Well, we went to 1962.
62.
So it was, it's quite a while back. We got off there, we were only staying the night, we didn't have a flight in. Stayed the night and then back and flight straight out to Bahrain. We goes to Bahrain, gets off at Bahrain, and the thing that struck me about Bahrain was the smell. It smelled like a toilet that had been sitting there for hundreds of years. The stench was unbelievable. And it was all flattened sand. It was hard sand. So they rolled over it with rollers all the time. And it was an airbase as well, so the aircraft could land on it. So you know how compact that sand was. It was, I mean, it's obviously different now where it was then. And so that's for the first time really when I realised about Muslims and the fact that they didn't drink and things like that. And by then I just started drinking. I wasn't drinking hot, but I started drinking. And it was the first time I'd sat on a bog that there was no chain to it or nothing. It was just chemical toilets, they called them. Oh, my neck. Flies all around it and everything. It was a disgrace. But that's where we were. And the Paras, in my opinion, the Paras were used like mercenaries. These sheikhs, whatever they used to be called themselves, if they thought they were going to be invaded, they'd get the British government to send the Paras over or the Marines or someone to protect them. And that's what half the wars were about. Anyway, as it happened, when we got to Bahrain, it was coming over the wireless and all the rest. We had wireless, didn't have televisions there or nothing. It's coming over the wireless that the Iraqis had backed down. They'd heard that there was another battalion of paratroopers just landed in Bahrain. And I think they just bottled it and just started pulling back. But he never took his eyes off that place, Saddam. And that, as we all know, it's history now. But he invaded it twice, Kuwait. But that was the start of it. That was the start of a lot of fighting. When I was over there in Bahrain, there was nothing else to do. All the mates fighting with each other. It was terrible. It was just one of them things that it's boredom. We were stuck in this 13-mile, I think it was about 26 miles long or something, 13 miles wide. It was little. crummy little island with nothing on it except the naffy tent. And that's when I really started to drink, when I was down there. I'm doing a lot of nick as well. First jail I went into was a canvas jail. They sent me down to a place called Maharak, which was the capital of Bahrain. Not Maharak, that was the airfield. Jaffa. Went down to Jaffa. I couldn't believe this. The company commander had said to me, he said, Fleetwood, we're sending you down to Jaffa as a storeman. I'd never been a storeman in my life. And I went down there, and it was all the RAF, all the other battalions and all that, who were all there, stationed there, in case of Q8 kicking off. But when it wasn't going to kick off, it was all relaxed and everyone was there. They were playing all this, that, and there's all sorts of sports going on. And they stuck me in the storeroom, the sports room, handing out the sports kit to everybody. Well, I think that's when I started getting a bit of acumen there for being in business. I thought, well, I can make a fortune here. and I did. I was as well to where I learnt to start keeping my mouth shut when I was in front of officers, because when I went down, after I'd been there for about 2 months and I was really enjoying it, but I didn't know who the RSM was. We were at this, we were all playing bingo.
Bingo.
Because that's what they are, because all those who had the wives out there, they brought the wives and we were playing bingo, nothing else to do. And I'm sitting there and this fella was laughing my head off with it. I was the only padder down there. I was laughing my head off with these lads, and this fella come over, he said, hey, keep it down, all right, just keep it down. And I turned around and said, who do you think you're talking to? I didn't see any uniform or anything like that. I'm just seeing this fella, the big fella standing there shooting his mouth off. And he said, I'm talking to you. Who do you think you're? Stand up when you're speaking to me. I said, if I stand up, I'll knock you out. Well, next time I'm getting grabbed by about 6 fellas, all soldiers. And they said, that's the RSM. I said, oh, shit. Needless to say, I got sent back to Maharak. I got 28 days in nick for threatening an officer. And that was the start of my career. And I was in and out of the nick after that. It just seemed to do something to me. I went off the rails a little bit. And I started, nobody could say boo to me before I'd start, Never ever threw the first punch though. I never done that in my life. But I used to wind people up to such an extent that they'd throw a punch at me and I'd be made up and then I'd have a go. And it wasn't right, but that's the way it was. But I knew that some great time, I didn't know, but I didn't know that there were some great times ahead of me. There really were. That was a time when we were going out on exercise and we were going out with the True Shalom Estates. And we were going to a place called Sharjah. It was just desert. Sharjah was just desert, but it was where the True Shalom Scouts used to do all the training. It was an amazing place. I've never seen so much sand. It looked like a big navvy camp. I thought the Irish lived there, all the sand was there. I was like, oh my neck, this is where they must get all the sand from the motorways. And it was just, I was so ignorant about life and about other cultures and things like that. And we went to this, we were marching across Sharjah. We were heading, it was all done by compass. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see anything in Sharjah. In fact, I don't think I did see anything. All I saw was, every so often you see a big mound. And that was where there were water holes. It had these big mounds up around them as though they were protecting them from the sand getting blown into but they were really deep. The water holes were really deep. And also what amazed me was the size of the fish that were there. They were just swimming, just right by the surface. You'd think, you could just pick them up. But the Arabs didn't touch them. They didn't kill them, didn't bother with them at all. And that's when I realised what Muslims were all about. They'd seen all these women with all these black things on. I thought, some of the lads were saying to me, they wear them all the time. If there's any non-Muslims about or whatever, if they're not with the family, they have to wear all these things with slits across the front of them. And I started learning quite a bit. And our job was to go out and give a lot of training to the True Shalom Scouts. But not the kind of training that they used to have themselves because they were used to the desert. They knew more about the desert than anybody.
Yeah, of course.
But we had to train them about parachuting and things like that, and how to land, and how to camouflage and one thing and another. Not that they needed to camouflage; they knew exactly what they were doing. And that's when I first damaged my leg when we jumped in Sharjah, and that's when I realised that parachuting could be quite dangerous as well.
Yeah.
We jumped out, and I done my leg in, really smashed my leg, and shouting like hell on the DZ. I've hurt my leg, I broke my leg, I think I broke my leg. See, I'm shouting. Some fella shouted across to me, "Well, you shut up, everybody can hear you." I said, "They can hear you as well." And that was the start of me realising that parachuting, you could even break your leg in the desert on sand if you didn't land properly. But you'd also, you had the big containers which weighed like 70, 80 pound with your rifle and all the ammo, grenades, rocket launcher, whatever you were carrying, and all your ammo, all the belt ammo we used to carry when we were there. And that was another thing that it was getting me trained for. It was getting us trained for Aden, because there was trouble going on in Aden, and there was we used to call them crap hats. I don't think they call them that now. They call them hats now, but and they were getting a bit of a scene too, and we were due to go back to Bahrain. Goes back to Bahrain. Anyway, we ended up coming home. We didn't see any action at that time, but came back to Bahrain, and we got flown back to Blighty. We came home on leave, and I didn't go home. I went to one of my mates' places in Yorkshire and started learning how to go out with girls and all the rest of it. It was it's a strange feeling after being with men most of my life, well, all my life. And suddenly, just not going out with girls, but just seeing girls and talking to girls. It was amazing. It was just, I was probably the shyest padder anyone's ever seen. And life was about to get really, really exciting without me even knowing it. It was, I was going back to camp, going back to Aldershot. How's we got going? We got a not phone call, but I used to put it on the news. All the battalion padders who were on leave to come back home, come back to camp. Went back to camp, and we went to. We all got flown out to Greece within about 24 hours. Wow, a lot of us, and it was something that I'll never ever forget. Seeing, we were in a camp, and we were told we were going to do a drop, and it was going to be the biggest airborne drop that had happened since the war. And what it was to keep the Russians away from Greece. We're like, what are we going to do that? So what we're going to do, we're going to fly over all the Beverleys, all the Hastings, all the aircraft, and there was going to be 16,000 men in the air at the same time. That was the whole of 16th Independent Parachute Brigade. And we were all in tents on the canvas in Greece, and but just not far from Athens. We were all like that, wow. And the camp was massive. You just get out of your tent and look, and you think, what the hell, these are all paras. 16th Parachute Independent Brigade. Independent was the thing, the word. We were independent of everybody. We could carry all our own weapons, all our own tanks, the heavy drop, everything was going to be in the air at the same time.
And this was to deter the Russians.
This was to deter the Russians, and we went over, and I tell you what, we was in the back, I was in the back flight going in, 3 para right at the back. And we were watching all the aircraft taking on, and you only got emplaned when the about 3 aircraft ahead of you were just starting to move, then you're all in plane. You don't really sit in the aircraft because it was boiling hot in there. And you'd be watching them all. And when you're seeing them going up, and the sky was just getting thicker and thicker with aircraft, it was an amazing sight. And you think everybody in that place had broken necks. Oh, look at that! Wow! And the aircraft, it was just an amazing sight. We went to got in, and a heavy drop were just behind us. And when we were going up, we only got up to 800 feet, and then you had to dive. We had to get out because it was an active drop, an active service. You went in, it dropped, jumped out at 800 feet. And when we went out, you could hear the fellas shout, "Thank you, thank you." We were jumping out, and as we were jumping out, they were letting the heavy drop out as well. And we were in the air at the same time as a heavy drop. Obviously, the heavy drop was getting down a lot quicker than us, so it was going past us. But we were jumping out before it, and the heavy drop was coming down. I was going, bloody hell! You'd think it was going to hit you. You really would. It was an amazing sight. When you're looking down, 800 feet, it takes a few seconds to hit the deck. You're looking down, and all you could see was parachutes and weapons and men all over the place. Needless to say, the Russians, they actually backed down. When I say they backed down, they didn't go any further than what they intended to do.
That was like a year before the Cuban Missile Crisis.
It was just before that, yeah, or just after. I think it was just after. And they did back down, because they backed down when they were taking the stuff into Cuba. And JFK said, if you don't back off.
So it just shows what you can do standing up to.
Oh yeah, stand up to them. And JFK, he sent his destroyers out there because, and he told the Russians to stop, and the Russians had been told by their commander, I guess it was Khrushchev at the time. Khrushchev said to them, you just keep going. And JFK said, you've been told, I'm telling you once more, stop, turn round now. And they wouldn't, so he sent one across the bows. Across the one that was carrying all the missiles, he sent a rocket right across the bows, and you could almost hear the world hold its breath. Because it was on the wireless as it was happening. What the hell? And I always thought of it like this. I'll tell you what, I'll bet that warship went skidded to a halt. Bloody hell, what's he done? He just fired a missile at us. Russia. Then the Cuba's missiles.
It takes a lot of battles to stand up to people sometimes.
Yeah, but when we were there, I always thought I'd be scared of going into war, but I wasn't a bit scared when we were doing that, because we were told that the Russians might actually take it as a threat and attack. But we had all live ammo and everything. It was all real thing, like it was all real McCoy.
It wasn't an exercise.
It wasn't an exercise. Oh no, you don't take that many people there and let them all out there of an airplane with the world watching.
No.
And then just, say, oh, sorry, we forgot to bring our ammo. It's just...
Prepared for anything, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just all part of the life. I'd gone from, being where I was at school and all the rest of it, working bandsmith and grimes, and all these things used to come into my head, and painting my legs, and, I always thought about that, but I never actually painted my legs. What I did, I used to get my sister's nylons and put them on, and then blacken them in the nylons, because I'd never get the polish off my legs. But I used to call it painting my legs, and that's what I used to do. It was just but I used to think of all these things when I was out there in the desert. Never thought of my family. Never ever thought of my family. I just used to think, well, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
This is just going to be an absolute amazing thing to do.
I was having served in the army myself. It's kind of your army friends. They become your family.
They do, yeah. It was.
The brief time that you are there, you tend to be friends for life. So.
It was an amazing feeling, and it wasn't long after that we were really going to be going back to Aldershot, and I always remember I was in three platoon in A company, and I was waiting for a letter to come. Saying to all my mates, I said, it's my birthday, it's 21st birthday soon. I've been in the three part then about 2 years, and I said, I think I'm going to get a few bob. Everybody always gets a gold watch on the 21st in our family. I was making out that our family was a great family. It wasn't, but they did all get a gold watch. And so I thought, I said, I'll take you all out for a pint tonight. Because I'll probably get a few bob in the cards as well. And waiting for the parade to come. Mail call, as they called it. And I was sitting there thinking, wow, 21 today. Can't believe this, 21. And I just waited. Went out for the mail call was blown. Went out. All the lads were, happy birthday, Scouts, all the best, Scouts. See you after, see you later. I must stay on the parade ground. And all the letters were getting given out, names getting shouted. Oh, sir, yeah, welcome, yeah. I thought he was keeping all mine to the last. I was the last one standing there, so he's kept more for me. And he said, Fleetwood, what are you waiting for? I said, yeah, come on, Howard, you got me letters there, my birthday cards. He said, nothing here for you. He said, so is it your birthday today? I said, yeah, come on. He said, nothing here for you. I said, I'm not joking. And I slunk back into the billet and got on my bed and I thought, wow. And I never did get anything. I never got a post. I never got a car. I never got anything. Never got a watch. Didn't get anything. But when I went back to billet, talk about your family. All the lads come in and go, what did you get? What did you get? I said, I didn't get anything actually. And they go, you didn't get anything? I said, no. Never got a thing. I said, so I can't take you out for a drink tonight. I think it was a Thursday. And they said, oh, come on, Scouts, don't worry about it. We'll take it out for a pint for your birthday. Come on. Anyway, and we did. I went out with them. Trev Harvey and all that. Well, they put all the tables down the centre of the Naffy Club because we were going to have a party. I didn't have any money. I never had a carrot. And they were saying, they're not buying anything. We'll get it. They all put 10 bob in the kit. 10 bob. 50p. But it was enough for everyone to get bevied. And I think after about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I said to Trevor, look at this one coming in here. And this girl come walking in the naffy. Long, jet black hair. Very pretty. Oh, lovely girl. Lovely legs on and everything. And I said, wow, look at her. So they said, I seen her first. I said, no you didn't. I saw her first. And you know those cocktail sticks? They used to have to put cherries on the end and put them on your drink. There was all them on the table where the lads have been buying me stupid drinks and all the rest of it. So we stood up, we started fencing with these cocktail sticks, and I went, hang on a minute. He went, what? And I went, ping! I said, I'm going to chat her up. I didn't know how to chat anyone up. And I went up to see this girl and I thought, wow, she's amazing. She's amazing. And I asked her, did she want a drink? And she said, I've got one. And when she said that, I didn't know what to say. Oh, okay then. I walked away. Trevor said to me, what happened at Yorkie, as we call him? He said, what happened? I said, she's got a drink. He said, so, you didn't just walk away, did you? I said, well, what am I supposed to say? He said, chat her up. I said, well, what am I going to say to her? Chat her up? I'm going to chat her up. I don't even know her. He said, anyway, to cut a long story short, I never went back over. I went up one another time to her. A bit later on, about half an hour later, and I thought, and I said, would you like a drink? She said, I've got one. I said, well, it's twice I've been up, and twice I've asked you to have a drink, and twice you said you've got one, because I thought I was going to start chatting her up. She said, so? And I went, oh, okay. And I walked off again. And I thought, I'll never be able to chat her up. That's the end of that. But it wasn't, because when she was walking out, she just tapped me on the shoulder. She said, I'm going now if you'd like to walk me home. I nearly fell off my chair trying to get up. All the lads stood up and they were going, Scouts has backed off, Scouts has backed off. That was the day I met
my mum.
Met your mum, my future wife, and one of the best birthday presents I could ever have wished for. She was absolutely amazing. And I remember it was a few days, not a long time later, I would say about a week. Actually, I made a date with her for the next night, made a date for her the next night, and I never turned up. But I went down to the Naffy Club. But it was after the time that I said I'd meet Pat.
You stood her up.
And I stood her up, yeah. And I was walking up the stairs to the restaurant in Manafi. And she was just coming down the stairs. I nearly died. And she said, "Why did you stand me up?" I said, "Well, I haven't got any money and I didn't think you'd be there." So, well, I wouldn't have said yes if I wasn't going to be there. And it doesn't matter if you haven't got any money. We could have sat and had a talk. That was it. I was really hooked then on your mum. I was really head over heels. And it's about a week. I was walking up to Gunhill. And I was on Natter to Pat. And this fella shouted across. He was in the 9th squadron. I shouted, "All right, Scouse." I said, "All right, mate." He said, "Who's that slut you got with you?" I just stopped dead in my tracks. Your mum will tell you this. I stopped dead in my tracks. I said, "I'd take that back if I were you." He said, "Where?" He said, "Yeah, rack and she and these sluts." And he was walking up the road with his girl who was a rack. And she was going, "Hey, you, are you taking that?" So I just walked over and I said, "Are you going to take that back?" He went, "Well, what are you going to do?" I just went, bang, bang, bang. Battered him. Goes into the Naffy Club the next night. And I wasn't seeing Pat that night. He went down to the Naffy Club. And this fella come in, didn't he? His face was a mess. And I stood up. And as I stood up, he went, "All right, Scouse, all right." He said, "I'm sorry. I've come down to apologise. I'm sorry." I said, "I just don't know what to say." He said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "You give me a hiding there, mate." He said, I think that's enough." I said, "Okay, that's fair enough. Leave it." Oh, that was it. Nobody ever called her a name after that, though. Nobody ever said anything. And rightly so. Rightly so.
That was my mother.
That was your mother. That was about 11 months later, I was married to her.
Really?
I was out on when I was in Greece. When it was all over, we stayed on the canvas. We were in Athens. When we come back from Athens, we were a bit of a day out. I still had some thunder flashes. Did you ever get the thunder flashes?
We went on to keep them though.
Oh, we did. We had the paras used to keep them. We used to just keep them. And I goes into my tent. And the lad said, "Got a few thunder flashes there, Scouse."
I've got a feeling this is the reason why we went on to keep them.
And he went, I said, "Yeah, let's have a go. Give us a couple." And I'd had a few beers and I go, "Incoming!" Needless to say, we'd had a few drinks. It was obviously me that was throwing them around. The guard come. Guard sergeant and everybody else. And he said to me, went on orders the next morning, and he said to me, "We've got a vacancy for a regimental cook." And I'm standing there, turning to attention, and I said,
"You say cook or cock?"
I said, "I can't cook, sir." He said, "I'm not asking you to give me a cook." I said, "I've got a vacancy for a regimental cook." He said, "Thing is, you've got to go back to Blighty." I said, I'm not a cook, sir. I'm not going. I'm not doing it." He said, "Fleetwood, you're under arrest. You'll do as you're told. You're going back to Blighty, and you're going to go and do a cook's course, and you're going to become a regimental cook. And you're going to be a bloody good regimental cook. Do you understand me?" I thought, yeah, okay. Now, little did I know that was the start of my enterprising years for the rest of my life. Because as a regimental cook, after I'd done the course and all that, and it wasn't until I started the course, I had to come back to Blighty, and I was with the Catering Corps Regiment. And I think it was only part of there as well. And I had a great time with them. I had a good laugh. I was allowed to wear my berry. They all had to wear white hats when they were training, but I was allowed to wear my berry because I was in the paras. That was one of the things about the paras. You didn't have to look like everybody else. If you went to another battalion or another company that wasn't paras, you were independent of everybody, and you could wear your own berry, the red berry. In fact, the regiment insisted on it. When you went there, they say you wear your berry at all times. Yeah. You wear your berry, and you go in. When I've been into places where the racks have been posted and all that, and you're the only fella on the counter serving food, the cook, and standing there, and you're the only one with a red berry on. All the rest have got these big, long, daft hats on. Some of the remarks I used to get were amazing. They used to make me blush and go, wow. Yeah, paratrooper. Mm.
Is that the fellas?
Yeah. Used to have, used to have an amazing time. It was the start of quite a few things that were happening in the army. It's hard to think of everything that happened because there was so much going on. There was so much. When I became a regimental cook, it took quite a few. I think it took about 8 or 9 months to become a regimental cook because they did treat you properly, taught you everything there was to know. But I remember doing my first. When I went back to battalion, back to 3-para, we were at. Can't think of the name of it.
Catterick?
No, it was in Aldershot, but it was not major. It was Blenheim Palace, Blenheim Barracks.
Blenheim Palace.
Blenheim Palace, which was Blenheim Palace. Mind you saying that, I've been there a few times as well.
Yeah, that's a different. That's later on in this story.
And I went up, and he said to me, "Right, Fleetwood, duty cook tonight." I said, "Yeah, okay." Oh, I don't mind doing duty cook because he worked in the evening, prepared all the food for about 800-900 men because that's how many were in the part of the battalion at the time. And I was preparing all the food, and there's a knock on the door, on the back door. And I was just looking over. I always told not to open the back door after 10 o'clock because that's when all the fellas come back to camp because the pubs used to close about 10. So at past, don't open the back door to anyone. Okay. So bang bang on the door, and I'm looking at it. I see one of my mates at the window like that looking through. "Scouse, come here!" So I walked over the door. I didn't give a shit, mate. I know no one's going to attack me. I said, "What do you want?" "Have an egg banjo." I said, "Egg banjo? You're joking, are you?" "No, cook. Give you the tanner." That's sixpence, not a tenner.
A tanner.
And I said, "What?" So give you the tanner. I said, "For an egg banjo? Get in." I cooked him an egg banjo. I said, yeah, it was sixpence. Thanks a lot. Look, next thing, I hadn't even turned round properly, and I went, bang, bang, Scouse, I'll give you the tanner for the banjo. And I went, what the hell? I was opening the door and I said, all right, who told you I was... He said, "This 20 was..." I said, he said, "They're all queuing up. May as well all come in at the same time." I thought, bloody hell. So I let them all in. I said, "You'll have to stand there behind that wall. I don't want anyone to see." And they got the top of one of these pans. We used to fry them in these big tops of the pans. You used to put them on the pan. There's these tops. Yeah. You used to turn them over, put oil in, and fry the eggs. You used to be able to do about 40 eggs in one go. So turn it over, put it on stoves. They were always lit, never went out. Really? So I've got it on the stove. I'm cracking all these eggs open, bang, bang, bang. I thought, I'm making a few bob here. And that's what's going through my head. I'm frying these 20. 20? Oh the hell. That's 10 shilling. That's 20 sixpences. What's that? That's, and I'm trying to count up how much it was. I'm going, that's there. That's a shilling. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Burning all the eggs at this stage.
I started crap. Soon learned how to count, I'll tell you. I've got all these eggs, and I'm like that. I've got a pocket full of sixpences and threepenny bits and all sorts of block. All these lads went off. I'm duty cook now, aren't I, for a month? And next thing, the next night, Friday night, I thought, I wonder if anyone will come round for any eggs. Because I'm really in for it now. I've got all this cash. I've got it all stashed in the kitchen. I thought, they did come round, but they didn't just come round in 20. There were about 50 of them all coming round and go, bloody hell. And there was a queue of them. So I just wasn't bothered at all. I said, listen, you may as well all just come in and sit in the canteen. I said, because, there's no one on, and all the lads are on duty. The lads who are on guard, they give us a shout because the guards were going round and they were looking after us. And all the lads sat in the canteen, and I made sure I got a sixpence or 2 bits off everybody that walked through the kitchen to get in there. And one of the lads said, "How are you gonna sort the eggs out, Brian? What are you gonna say about the Scouts? What are you gonna say?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You couldn't be about a box of eggs, sure. There's only 340 eggs in a box, isn't there?" I said, "Yeah, 340. I said, "I've already counted them. There's 360, actually." He said, 360 eggs? I said, "Yeah, well, that'll last me a week, won't it? I get rid of all them in a week." He said, "Yeah, but what about QMS comes in?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "He only counts the boxes." I said, "No, all I'll do, I'll put that box on the bottom, put all the others on the top. and then the bottom one will be empty. And that's how I got away with it. And I never got caught once, and I was made a fortune out of it.
That's how you still can't be done for this, Dad.
Well,
That's how you still can't be done for
they've got to get the evidence, haven't they? They've got to get the eggs, and they've got to find the box, and they've got to find all the shells and all the rest of it. So I don't really much. I don't know how long that's been going, but
So you left my mum when you went on this course for like 9 months?
no, I don't think I was with your mum then. I don't think I was with your mum. Was I? No, I don't think I was. I was with her, yeah.
Tell you what, just take a break for a minute. Okay, just had a short break, so back to you, Dad.
Yeah, I was just I was saying about this cook's course. I'm still seeing Pat. In fact, I brought Pat up to the cookhouse, and
Sold it an egg banjo.
yeah, I was cooking stuff for her. It was amazing. I was letting her see what a great cook I was, and all the rest of it. I used to cook all the stuff for the dinners for the next day, the weekends, and things like that. By then, I was absolutely madly in love with your mum. I was when I first met her, anyway, but I was really taken aback with her, and most of my time actually in the cookhouse was punishment, because every time I went down to town, if any of the RMPs or anybody said anything to me, I was always one for having a go at them, throwing things at them and all sorts. It was a hobby of mine, was to wind them all up. And I became quite well known throughout the battalion for the way I carried on. It was like I was enjoying being able to do whatever I wanted, and no one could do anything about it. Not being a bully. I was never ever a bully or anything like that. I never looked for a scrap or nothing. I was just thoroughly. I was like having another childhood. Only this one was really good. And I just got through all sorts. I was willing to. I was in the cookhouse eating all these eggs. One of the lads come in. He said, "Yeah, Scouse, what are you cooking all the eggs for?" And by this time, the door used to be just left open at the back. Everybody used to just walk in. I got a couple of egg banjos. I got. And he said, "What are you doing that for?" I said, and it was Flogger. He was my future brother-in-law, and he said, "I got a better idea," because he was the butcher in the cookhouse. He was the butcher. That's what he used to do when he was a civvy. And he said, "I've got a better idea." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Get rid of all these. Get them all the egg banjos." You know, a couple of rich fellas used to get egg and bacon banjos, but they paid a shilling for them. And he said, "I know where you can get a lot of money from." I said, "Okay, I'll get rid of all these." I said, "Come on, you're out. RSM's coming." And they were all gone within 30 seconds. Gone. MJ said, "Right, where we go?" All you would see was all these half-eaten egg banjos. He said, "Do you know the cigarette machine?" I said, "I don't know it personally, but I know where it is. Yeah, I know what you mean." He said, "Why don't we just wheel it down here and bring it into the kitchen?" I said, "What for?" I was so naive. He said, "Well, we'll open it up." He said, "But it's best to open it up in here than out there. We can't get seen in here, can we? It's all covered up." And I said, "Oh, good idea." So closed the door. I had the keys to the cookhouse, obviously, so I locked the door behind me. We went round, and I said, "Oh, hang on a minute." He said, "What?" I said, "I stand out like a sore thumb. I look like someone who's covered in bandages. I'm all in whites here." I said, "I'm going to walk up there and start pushing the cigarette machine down the road." So we went back, and I got some clothes out the cookhouse, what people used to leave, the women and all that. We would work and they'd leave the coats hanging up. So I got a couple of our coats.
Nice fake coat.
So I tied them round myself and went back up. And we wheeled this machine down to the cookhouse. Absolutely delighted when we got it over the step and into the kitchen. Because we had all the tools, big cleavers and everything to open it up with.
Subtle.
And it was a brilliant idea, but the most miserable failure I'd ever had in my life. We got it open, there was no cigarettes in it, and it had obviously been emptied the day before, and there was no money in it. I said to Flogger, They all them egg banjos over there. I could have had all them egg banjos. I would have all that. We pushed an empty cigarette machine down to the cookhouse and smashed it to bits to get into it, and there was nothing in it. Wow. Then we had the humility of having to take it out again and dump it somewhere. Them were the days. There's all the time I was planning on how to get this woman to marry me. I did eventually. Well, that was happened to the cookhouse. Yeah, I went to Bahrain when I was working in the cookhouse. But that was after Bahrain for the second time. That was after I'd married your mum. Your mother got pregnant. We got married on a shoestring. And, well, I'll tell you that next time, because it's
That's another story.
That's another story, and it's
So we'll leave it there for
it's
tonight.
a love story.